everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, and I am just back from Michigan and diving back into the garden after more than a week away in the middle of July here in central North Carolina. Now you all may remember I got this bed planted just over a month ago, and I did not plant buckwheat. But there is a lot of buckwheat that had self-sown in this bed from my spring cottage garden planting. The thing is, I don't want this to keep perpetuating and self-sowing, so now is the moment for me to come through with my pruners and cut it out so that I can prevent it from seeding again. So I always get this question about cover crops that self-sow and how do you break that cycle? Well, the easiest answer is don't let them go back to seed. And when you've got plants like buckwheat or crimson clover that are in full bloom before any seed is set, that is the moment that you need to come through and remove those plants. So let me show you exactly the process. So first of all, you can just see up close and personal, all those white, tall, fill-in-the-gap flowers are buckwheat. There's a lot of buckwheat in here. Now, the reason that I say cut it is quite simple. Well, let me show you. When I come here to pull it out, let's just take this big one right here. You can see that it ends up ripping out a good amount of soil. And I am trying to prevent soil loss from this bed. So instead of removing it and pulling out good dirt, I'm just gonna come through and actually cut the stalks at the base, just like that. No soil coming out at all. I'm gonna allow the roots to decompose right where they were growing, because these don't grow back from the root. These are not perennial, okay? These are true annuals. They grow, they flower, they set seed, and they die. So by cutting the plants back, you aren't going to have another round of growth start to emerge. But by not ripping them out, I am not allowing for new weed seeds to surface, and I'm not removing a bunch of the good soil that I had to pay for to put into this bed. So just grab a pair of pruners, cut your cover crops before they go to seed, and that will stop them from generationalizing. It's a really easy process. Well, hopefully you agree that is a pretty big transformation. It's getting all that self-seeded buckwheat out of the bed. You can actually see that there is a purposeful planting in there. The hydrangeas are really not doing as well as I'd like, and that's mostly because of deer. But the biggest shock of all is that we've been pretty wet. Now, here in Fuquay, not like flooding wet, but we've been pretty consistently getting rain all summer long, which is something I'm very, very grateful for. I'm not complaining, but I think we've actually been too wet for the mangaves. So, you know, I planted mangaves in the ground, knowing they're not really hardy here, but just because they were getting really big in the pots. And well, my plan is that I'm gonna order a whole bunch of fresh ones next spring and have succulent classes and basically force mangave on everyone. What I was not anticipating is them rotting out in the ground, which has definitely never happened before. So let me show you. This big, fabulous, beautiful lavender lady, it was flopped over, and I was like, well, that's weird. And then what I discovered is a totally rotten base, and it just broke right off. And several others that are in the ground are looking the same, but for now, I'm not gonna mess with them. But I have a feeling that what I'm gonna end up having to do is move some of the succulents from other parts of the yard that are in pots and just bring them into this bed to fill in gaps. We're at a weird time, sort of getting to the end of July. It's really too late now to sow more zucchinis and stuff. It's a little early for the fall stuff. So I'm just gonna, well, see how everything grows out now that there's light and room. And then as I get closer to the time where I have people visiting, as we get closer to the fall open garden, I will just use pots to fill in the gaps, and then also some cool season stuff. But like I said, we're pretty far out still from reliably being able to plant cool season crops here in central North Carolina. So let's just do a quick evaluation. The coleus are doing great. The Tabasco peppers are doing great. In fact, this is actually starting to set fruit. The eggplants are off the hook, starting to harvest. There's tons of fruit coming. Definitely more eggplant than necessary. The hydrangeas. I have to say, I just don't think that I'm the right gardener for hydrangeas, and so I'm going to stop. I basically have two that are definitely on their way out over there that are the oak leaf, the native hydrangea quercifolia. These are Jetstream. The hydrangea paniculatas. This looks good, that looks good, that looks good, this one looks good, but then one over here died. And honestly, it might be that it was too wet, because that quercifolia is also looking pretty rough. So I cut back all the stuff that was dead, and we'll see if it flushes out. Best laid plans sometimes don't work out. I also have downy mildew on my basils, and I knew better. I didn't get downy mildew varieties, downy mildew resistant varieties, and this is what happens. And there really isn't any recovering from it. So I'm just left this one to show you what it looks like. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut these plants down because there isn't any point. You know, they will remain sick for the rest of the summer, and they will continue to spread the disease. So be really aware of buying your basil varieties for downy mildew resistance. Now, the plants that I think look the best are southern heat tolerant plants. We've got cotton, which is about to start flowering. Now, it's got aphids on it, but that's no big deal. We've got okra, which I will now need to add some additional protecting because the deer love to eat the okra. So that's my next step. And then this fig, which is fruiting, not ripe yet, but hopefully happy in this spot, and will ultimately grow out and look really awesome as kind of the base architectural element. Well, everybody, I hope this video will provide some important insights for all of you. Remember, if you have a bed that's getting out of control or it looks ugly, there's no wrong time to rip it out and start over. Although admittedly, working midday in the southeast is probably not very logical. So follow suit with me, come out after 7. You'll still sweat it out, but it's always great to be able to get a little something done and fully engage with your garden. Well, I do hope that you will subscribe so that you can continue to see how my gardens grow out this summer. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and happy gardening.